Hey all, JTC here, and today I wanted to talk about Barkskin and why it's the best necklace trait. When talking about necklace traits, a lot of people will say that Barkskin is the best, but they don't always explain why that is, so that's what I wanted to do today. Before we do that, though, I want to go ahead and look at all of the necklace traits in the game and explain why they're not as good as Barkskin, or really why they're just not good at all. Starting with Hand of Shalia. Hand of Shalia is just simply not good because it doesn't offer enough. There used to be a reason to run it back before healing another person and healing your own wounds with medical supplies was in the game. This would be the talent that you took or the trait that you took if you wanted to have that ability, but since it just got added to the base game with medkits, there's no reason to run this anymore, so this one's just bad. Next up is Homebrewer. Homebrewer is okay, but the problem with Homebrewer is that you are putting on a necklace trait for essentially a chance at something happening, a 25% chance, whereas all of the other necklace traits in the game have a guaranteed benefit that has a 100% chance to work throughout the game, whereas Homebrewer only has a 25% chance to work. Not that great. Next up is Natural Bond. Natural Bond seems really good on paper because it's free healing without consuming any healing supplies, but the problem is, for at least those who aren't as experienced, it requires you to play much more passively in order to get the benefit of the trait, whereas Vermintide is a very aggressive horde-based game, and passiveness really just leads to death more often than it doesn't, so it really just clashes with how the game is and should just be reworked in my opinion. And then lastly, we have Boon of Shalia. Boon of Shalia is really the only necklace trait that can actually compete with Barkskin. Now, it can't exactly compete with Barkskin because Barkskin is just so much better, but Boon of Shalia is not a bad choice because it essentially allows you to keep up your 10 HP for the entire game. And added with a couple of other synergies, such as with Sister of the Thorn or with a Warrior Priest with From Fury Fortitude, you can actually get a huge use out of Boon of Shalia, which makes it a genuinely solid choice. Now, the question that arises is, why is Barkskin so much better than Boon? And it's really only for one reason. Barkskin greatly boosts your survivability and makes you much more difficult to kill. And in order to understand why this is, we actually have to go look at how the trait works and dissect it. Taking damage reduces the damage you take from subsequent sources by 40% for 2 seconds. This effect can only trigger every 2 seconds. Basically, how this works is whenever you take any kind of damage, either from enemies or from friendly fire, you proc Barkskin, and any other damage you take from any source is reduced by 40% for 2 seconds. And this basically means you get 40% damage reduction for 2 seconds. Now, the thing that makes this really powerful is that this effect, it really is the final line, this effect can only trigger every 2 seconds, which means that there is essentially no downtime on Barkskin. You can have Barkskin up 24/7 if you're taking constant ticks of damage, and that's what makes this talent so good. Barkskin shines the most whenever you are taking rapid ticks of damage from any kind of source. And this includes Rattling Gunners, Warp Fire Throwers, and Blightstormers, just to name a few. You will just be taking 40% less damage from these guys across the board because the rapid ticks of damage is going to constantly be proccing Barkskin. Now, something else that people don't really think about is disablers. Essentially, whenever you are grabbed by a disabler, you are going to be proccing Barkskin the entire time, which gives you essentially 40% damage resistance whenever you are disabled. And in order to highlight this, I actually made a comparison video between the two. So what I've done with this video is I have basically put them together to test how long it would take an assassin rat to kill me by himself with Barkskin versus without Barkskin. Now, something I do realize is I have extra health at the top and I don't have that at the bottom, but we're just going to be compensating for that as we go. Now, if we just go ahead and let this play, a brief observation we can make just right off the bat is that Barkskin is actually working here. Even with just an assassin rat by himself with no other enemies, Barkskin is proccing constantly and saving us health. If we subtract 20 health from the top, Barkskin Sienna would be at 56, 57 HP, while no Barkskin would be at 36, at 20 health difference, which is pretty significant. And if we go ahead and let it play, we can go ahead and see that no Barkskin Sienna dies at about 3 seconds, 3.1 seconds. And if we let this play to about 20 health, which is when no Barkskin Sienna would die, she would die at about 4.2, 4.3 seconds, which is about a second to almost a second and a half of extra life. Now, you might be saying, JTC, a second doesn't really make that much of a difference, but that's on the contrary. An extra 1 to 1.5 seconds actually makes a huge difference in a game like Vermintide, where the seconds really, really matter, and where the small, minute numbers can actually be the difference between life and death. 1 singular second can be the difference between you dying and that mercenary getting his ult off and saving you and being able to get you up. And then the final reason as to why Barkskin is really good is because you're actually able to quote-unquote cheese it in order to get even more benefit from it. Now, like I said before, Barkskin procs through any damage taken, and this doesn't matter if it's from the enemies or from your own teammates. And what some people will do is purposefully put themselves in the line of fire of their teammates who have low damaging attacks in order to proc Barkskin over and over again to essentially get a permanent 40% damage reduction throughout an entire fight. And an example of this is someone standing in front of either a Drake fire gun or a Flamestorm staff, basically a flamethrower attack weapon. And what this does is, because the damage of the flamethrower is so low, it basically procs Barkskin over and over again to not only continuously reduce the damage they're taking from the Flamestorm, but also reduce the damage they take from everything around them by 40%, which basically makes them a absolute fucking beast of a tank. And yeah, that is why Barkskin is considered the best necklace trait out of them all. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe for more Vermintide content in the future. See y'all next time.